A fall from grace indeed. Now, he's always flexing his long amount of years spent on YouTube. Probably, you could at least say I've been watching him for about 6 or 5 years. Sneako used to be one of the most revered and most just respectable based YouTubers out there. Honestly, my personal views on Sneako are that he's still trying. You see, I have a lot of things to discuss, so let's buckle up. First of all, what has Sneako recently been going through? He's been going through an existential crisis. We call it the Neo syndrome or something along those lines. My man has come to realize that the world that he was implanted in is not accurate to what they teach, what they preach. Many people in the West have adopted this same view. I'm not here to discuss the credibility or the viability of his theories, because in truth, most of them are actually not theories and they're just facts. But I want to talk about the effect that he had on people, or that he is currently having on people. To start this off, let's talk about his recent streams with other people like Jadion or Abba and Preach, or like yesterday, Taekwondo and Young Don the Sauce God. So you see him talking to all these people, and he keeps discussing these ideas about just the West not being all it's made up to be, and the West being corrupt. Now, a lot of the things that he says, you can't help but hear him in a conspiracy theorist, weird kind of manner. But that's just because of how he presents himself. So off the rip, I just want to say, Sneako is a young man. And so he has this idea in his head that there's either going to be people that agree with him or disagree with him. He sees it in a very simple lens. But that's not actually as far as it goes. He doesn't see things as complex as they actually are. He only sees yes or no, right and wrong. And so he's going to have to come to realize a lot of things if he wants his journey to continue forward without him being held back by his actions and his behavior. For example, in a lot of these debates, like, he's sitting here acting as if he has premonition. Jadion said it, he's like, he thinks it's that so Raven. And if not that, then he is quite obviously taking things and turning them into a spectacle. Now, yes, you are an entertainer, but that when you're speaking on things as serious as breaking someone out of a matrix, you should really dumb down that entertainer, funny joke, obnoxious like loudness, and you really need to let people speak so you can hear them out and so that you can listen. Now, he called out AMP recently and Abba and Preach because they take a perspective of taking a step back. You see, they don't really put themselves in the situation, and so they try to understand all perspectives. I can definitely see what he means about Abba and Preach just trying to pander and trying to have an audience that is encapsulated by everyone. And I don't necessarily see anything wrong with that, but it's true what he pointed out. Now, when you look at the way that Sneako carries himself in these discussions, he seems to be very sure of himself, and he also has a lot of nonchalant, like whenever he is faced by a rebuttal, he doesn't seem to actually think about it because he's so concrete in what he thinks. And so when all you do is yell and you make a bunch of snarky remarks when someone is genuinely trying to have a discourse or a legitimate discussion, you only make your argument look weaker. I think that's why Sneako is losing a lot of people that respected him, that watched like two parties, like how Jadian was talking about. There's some people that watched Pokimane and watched him. Well, I watched Sneako along with a lot of these other YouTubers, and not personally because I know that he's in the right and he's coming from a good place. His intentions are not bad. But I can still see that he's being immature and not carrying it out well, because I imagine that he doesn't have a means to genuinely help all these people. He just wants to give them the information. And so when you look at him and he's doing all these nasty things, you wonder to yourself, what is wrong with him? What's going on? And that's why a lot of times in chat you hear them calling him things like tweako or disturbed. Honestly, I really like the tweako one. I read they were spamming that in the Abba and Preach chat. I was like, oh my god. I hope Sneako sees this tweako thing and runs with it, because honestly that's so fucking funny. You guys remember Tweak from South Park? Anyway, beyond that, in his approach to the truth, he's very, it seems resentful in some ways, but you can at least see that he seems desperate in a sense. It's almost as if he's saying, he has said this before. He says there is like no time, and he has to do it right now because like waiting isn't gonna help anybody out. He said something along those lines, like he sees it very straightforward and clear cut. He knows that he has a little bit of a following, and so if his following makes these loud noises, then more people will catch on and traction, and boom, he thinks it's as simple as connecting to people on the internet to I guess further his agenda of breaking people out of the matrix. But one thing that Sneako has not acknowledged is that you physically and you mentally cannot break someone out of the matrix. That's impossible. That's why it's called a matrix. It's sad to see someone who is so enlightened go down this path, because it's making him look really stupid. I have a lot of respect for Sneako, and so to see him throw it all away in these half-assed debates with libtards and half-assed like discussion streams in which you see him clearly making a spectacle out of things by trying to like just turn everything into a joke, or visibly looking like he's tired of hearing the point that someone has to say when he hasn't even heard them out, and then they say something that's completely different from what he thought, and then he lightens up and he's like, oh, It makes you look stupid. Don't rely on what you think you know. Rely on what you actually know. And you're coming from the right place, because how are we going to help anyone if we don't start the process? But the process should not be gone through like this. This is definitely not the way to do it. Sneako, if you really want to start a movement, if you really want to break people out of the matrix, I think you will have to be more of a physical figure, start a movement type shit, like activism, not just locally, but I think popping up in multiple places and rallying people together, because the government's not going to listen to your videos. Like look at these females and the abortion topic. Like, they're just posting on their story like some random case where some 14-year-old got raped or something, and then they're using that to like kind of affirm themselves and make themselves feel like they're really doing something to put a dent in the wrongdoing of the government by taking away their rights. But honestly, that's not doing anything. There's no fucking 70-year-old Supreme Court member following you on Snapchat or Instagram and looking at your story and being like, oh shit, these girls are so mad. Oh man, maybe I voted wrong. That's not how the world works. And I'm sorry if you believe that your internet clout can help you break people out of the matrix. But here's what I'll leave you off on. If you aren't ready for your burdens to be laid down, then they just won't be. And if you present your argument in such an ill manner, then people will immediately see you for all of your fallacies, and they won't take what you genuinely have to say into account. They think you're a conspiracy theorist and a tweaker now, not a enlightened intellectual individual. You should try to reroute the path and actually try to enlighten people, because I know you can, Sneako, and I know you are intelligent.